New airstrikes launched against ISIS targets, this time by Egypt. The Egyptian military flying bombing runs over Libya in retaliation for the beheadings of those 21 Coptic Egyptian Christians at the hands of ISIS. The latest video intensifying concern about the expansion of the Islamic State as affiliated groups begin to appear in Africa and beyond, spreading into territories claimed by al-Qaeda. Tom Joscelyn is Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies, Senior Editor of the Long War Journal, and somebody who keeps very close track of all this. So ISIS sprung out of the chaos that we saw in Syria. It moved into Iraq. Now all of a sudden it's jumped the Red Sea and it's in North Africa?
Well, keep in mind that going all the way back to the height of the Iraq War, there was a pipeline for jihadists from North Africa, in particular Libya, to Iraq for that war. And what they were doing is they were sending foreign fighters from North Africa to Iraq to attack American troops. ISIS has capitalized on that pipeline because what they've done is they've sent a lot of those foreign fighters back to Libya to basically establish their beachhead in North Africa.
So it's almost a natural progression, I guess, of the war that was being fought against U.S. and other allied troops in Iraq.
Sure. ISIS has something called the Al-Batar Battalion, and this is made up of primarily Libyans. And a lot of the guys we see leading the charge in Libya today are guys who were part of this battalion who fought on behalf of ISIS in Iraq and Syria.
But you say that ISIS and al-Qaeda, the remnants of al-Qaeda, are potentially going to be butting heads in places like Libya.
They've been butting heads in Libya already. In fact, in Derna, there were some misreports last year saying that ISIS had taken over the whole city of Derna, which has a population, I think, around 100,000. That's actually not true. They ran into al-Qaeda loyalists in Derna who basically got into a lot of skirmishes with ISIS. And actually, the al-Qaeda loyalists still control territory in Derna, probably more than ISIS does.
So al-Qaeda doesn't necessarily get along with ISIS?
Oh, they fight everywhere the two show up. They're fighting each other. They're jihadist rivals at this point. So all the way from Syria to Libya, they're fighting each other.
Well, I hope they both lose. But you say that ISIS tends to recruit the worst of these jihadis.
Basically, ISIS and al-Qaeda have two different models at this point. ISIS is sort of loud and brazen and says, we're the caliphate, you're going to do what we want you to do, or we're going to kill you. Al-Qaeda is trying to portray itself, ironically enough, as being more moderate or more sort of composed in how they're going to wage jihad, and they're trying to rein in violence. They're trying to embed themselves within society. So in Libya, for example, we know where ISIS is because they advertise it. Al-Qaeda tries to conceal its hand.
So that's, I mean, not necessarily a good thing. ISIS, we know where they are because of these horrific acts like the beheadings of these Coptic Christians. Al-Qaeda, maybe we're less sure.
Well, look at Ansar al-Sharia, one of the groups that was responsible for the Benghazi attack back in 2012. Nobody back in 2012 or 2013 or 2014 said that the leader of that group had actually personally met with Osama bin Laden and adopted his methodology for waging jihad. In fact, yet he had. So he was an al-Qaeda operative, basically. Nobody ever said that. They were hiding their hand in terms of what they're doing in Libya. The
Egyptians are going after them now in Libya based on the killings of these Coptic Christians. Do you think that that momentum can be maintained?
It's tough to say. You know, what's interesting about the Egyptian airstrikes is they're not only hitting ISIS, they've actually been hitting al-Qaeda loyalists, too, in Derna, for example. One of the ironies here is that they've basically been going after jihadists who are fighting each other. So it's tough to say. The airstrikes alone are not going to be enough to take care of this problem.
And the long war goes on.
Correct.
All right. Tom Joscelyn, Senior Fellow at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thank you, Tom.
Thank you.